So this morning I woke up, and as I usually do, I went for my morning walk. I didn't get back into the gym, but right now walking is doing me a lot of good, just getting my mind and body into equilibrium. But as I'm walking, I'm listening to an audible. I just want to make sure I have the right name of the book and I spit it properly. The book is called The Marathon Don't Stop, the life and times of Nipsey Hussle. For those of you who don't know who he is a LA, Los Angeles hip hop artist who unfortunately was murdered a few years back. But he's an artist from a neighborhood that I'm very familiar with. I grew up in LA, Inglewood, and my mother actually owned a store on Crenshaw in the Rolling 60s neighborhood. And for those of you who don't know who or what the Rolling 60s is, it is a gang, a Crip gang in LA. And this man was beyond just a gangbanger. You know, he did a lot of amazing things, and right now is probably not the time for me to go into his history, but I want to make a connection to reading, listening to his biography, and also his music and how that impacted my leadership coming into education. Not necessarily his book, but just my connection to hip hop and street culture. So those of you know, I grew up. Actually, I was born in Nigeria. I grew up in a Nigerian household. So I tell people, yeah, I was raised in LA, but I grew up in Nigeria. Because when you walk into the doors of our household, you were in Nigeria. Both my parents are Igbos, you know, Nigerian through and through. We ate the food, we lived the culture, the way we moved in the house was 100% Nigerian. But in the streets, you had to survive. So you couldn't just be, you know, your primary culture. You had to adapt to street culture. Why is this important? When I came to New York to be an educator, my first high school was in the Bronx. The first school I worked at was in the Bronx, and I was the dean there. And one of the things I was told when I came in was that we have a huge gang problem, which was interesting because for someone who grew up in Los Angeles, where gang culture is culture, period. Walking into a school building and seeing kids who are repping Bloods, Crips, then all the different gangs from New York, Latin Kings, and they know the different Dominican gangs, Puerto Rican gangs, the Caribbean gangs. I mean, it was like literally United Nations of gangs on this particular campus. And some people might have shied away from it, like, yo, this is too much. And I'm talking about, it wasn't just in name. They were doing a lot of crazy things, these kids. But however, one of the things that benefited me is the fact that I had a background or understanding of the culture. But not only that, even if I didn't have a background, I think it would have done me well to learn and understand the gang culture and what is the motivator behind it. What is it that draws kids into it, and what are the structures and hierarchies of it? It's interesting that I have to share this. Early on in my time as a dean in that particular school, myself and other people on the campus, other leaders on the campus, we started having war councils. What we called war councils, but what we were really doing was we were bringing in all the heads of the different gangs in the school, the kids who had weight and had pull, into a conference room, and we'd talk to them like, hey, what's going on, or this is happening, what can we do? And we were giving them voice in that space, because we realized no matter how much we wanted to control and run them, this was their culture, their space, you know? Yes, it's in the school building, but guess what? When you have, you know, 200-300 kids that might be gang affiliated on a campus of 2,000, that's a huge number. And let's be honest, that number surpasses us as the adults there. So being able to tap into them and give them voice was very, very important. Not only that, it made them feel like they were part of the conversation. I remember when I first got there used to be fights all the time. There was always beefs all the time. Teachers were afraid to walk through the hallways. But when we started doing the war councils, and then even me, myself personally, getting to understand the kids, sitting down with them during lunchtime and be like, yo, tell me about your set. Like, yo, how come y'all are beefing with them? What happened? And understanding what was happening in the streets, or even what happened historically between the groups of kids, was very helpful to being able to establish a baseline culture of respect in the building. A lot of principals, a lot of school leaders are like, nah, keep that in the streets. I'm sorry. if you want to keep that to be kept in the streets, then you might as well just have the kids not come to school at all, because this is who they are. So it's very, very important that we tap into who they are, understand it, and then we can help them make the change for the better. So the point of this video is to share with you that it's very, very important as school leaders that we understand the culture of the community around us. If there's a gang issue, understand who the gangs are, who are the players, and bring them to the table. This is for a lot of people not a very popular thing to do. But I can tell you right now, as a kid who grew up, as a man who grew up as a kid in Los Angeles, in gang culture, my high school, Inglewood High School, was primarily all Inglewood family bloods, and then you have Inglewood 13, which was primarily the Mexican gang there. They had pull. If those kids decided to wild out, there's nothing the school could have done about it. But it was very interesting how in high school, I remember the teachers having an understanding of the gangs and the players in there, because let's be honest, I'm gonna be honest with you, my teachers grew up, they lived in my neighborhood. They lived in my neighborhood, so they understood. And a lot of them, excuse me, I have a truck driving by right now. A lot of them, grew up around the gangs as well. So it's very important to understand that. And I think, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for the fact that I had a very good understanding of what's happening in my neighborhood, and allowed me to really grow and make better decisions. And also, I know it's allowed me to bring that sensibility into my school environments, every school I've ever worked at, whether it's middle school or high school, and be able to help kids make better choices by being someone who understands and is not demonizing of gang culture. Yes, there's a lot of negative things coming from gangs, but we have to also understand that these institutions, these organizations, these family groups are encased around our children. So it's very important that we understand it, so we can really help them make better choices and move them in the right direction. I hope I made some sense here, and I apologize for the noise. I'm outside here in Hudson Park in New Rochelle, New York, by the water, my favorite place to be in the mornings to clear my head. And that's pretty much it for right now. Be well, and I'll talk to you all soon, all right? Peace.